I knew from then that I want to be able to make my own games and my own titles and not have to listen to somebody else telling me, you have this idea, but we want to do it this way. Since the time I was little, I have wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted to. That's what led me to start AshuriiYuki Productions. It originally wasn't even a game studio. AshuriiYuki Productions was a cosplay company. And once I decided to stop making cosplay for people, I went into becoming an art studio. And I'm still an art studio to this day, but then I decided once I got my video game design degree, why not start making games too? When I started in the games industry was when I made the decision to get a bachelor's degree of science in game design at my local university called Bradley University. Once I graduated, I thought that because I had the connections that I had and the experience that I had, that meant anything. I learned very quickly that it meant absolutely nothing. And your school doesn't tell you that. They don't prepare you for that. And if they do, you're very lucky. At the beginning of the pandemic is when I graduated in May of 2020. So I already had that ringer thrown in there. And I was supposed to have an internship with a company that was a game studio. And it was for a producer position. And it got cut because they didn't see it being meaningful, a good use of money during the pandemic, which I both understand, but I will forever be mad about it. So from there, it was, all right, now we have to apply to 1,000,001 things. And I've run into a lot of issues of sexism during my interviews, which is a big hot topic in the gaming industry right now. And I've had to overcome it because people think that, oh, you're a female in the game industry, you don't know what you're talking about, or, oh, you're not going to be qualified because you're a female. And eventually going through that every single time, one after one, kind of led me to see like, okay, there's an inherent issue here. So now that I've made the transition from, okay, I want to work under somebody else because that's what I've been told I should do, to being like, I'm just going to open my own door, we published our title, Lingering Legacy. And I knew from then that I want to be able to make my own games and my own titles and not have to listen to somebody else telling me, you have this idea, but we want to do it this way. So Lingering Legacy is a third-person action-adventure game that takes place in a primitive fantasy world. We were given this game when we were seniors in university as our senior capstone project. And for those that aren't in maybe a major that's project oriented, a senior capstone project is like, this is what gets you to graduate. This is what you work on the entire year, both semesters. And if you don't finish this, you don't really graduate. So we were handed this game as an option to learn in somebody else's code base instead of making this game or that game. We were handed this game, which was a previous capstone game. And he said, we have this game, it's a gem, but it needs to be made better. So that's your project, is take what is here and polish it and make it better. So what we ended up doing is taking what was there, throwing out 90% of it, keeping the artwork, and redoing it into what is now Lingering Legacy. And throughout the past 2 years, we've gone through several different teammates and different issues on the project, and we've polished it and made it to what it is today into the game that we put live. So launching your own studio, it's a little different in my perspective than it might be for someone that is like, okay, I'm going to launch my own studio from the ground up being a game studio. Since I had that previous framework of being an LLC, how it really worked was I looked into like the different places that I wanted to publish, which ended up just being Steam. And luckily with Steam, you don't even have to start a studio. You don't have to start a company. You can publish under just yourself if you want to. So that makes it very helpful for those that are indie developers that don't want to pay the taxes that it takes to be an LLC or an S Corp or the different kind of corporations that there are. It's encompassing of like what indie developers are. It's I'm going to be inclusive, and it really helps you kind of step that ground running. And that's kind of why we chose Steam, is because it gave us that flexibility if we needed. I want to be the opportunity that wasn't given to me or wasn't given to us that graduated, especially during the pandemic. I want to be that place that cultivates inclusivity, diversity, but also I want to be the place where somebody who doesn't have a degree at all, or someone just has an idea and says, I have this idea for a game, but where do I go? Takes the egg that you see from the creative people that don't necessarily have the funds or the means to do something or the knowledge, and give them a team and be like, all right, you have this good idea, here's a team. Let's see where it goes. And that's kind of how I want to build up and be the change in the industry to be something more wholesome and inclusive. And also, I think that's how we're going to get better games in the future, is by not just being so close-knit of, oh, we're game developers, we know the best ideas. Because honestly, the best ideas come from people that aren't even in our industry. It's time that we become the industry that we want, because obviously the industry is falling apart right now. And it's going to have its own World War III before it gets to where it needs to be. And I think it's time that we step up and cause it faster, because it needs to happen. It's instead of sending in thousands of applications and being treated like garbage, it's time that we look to indie studios or say, I'm just going to do my own thing, because eventually indie studios will take over AAA. It's already been happening. AAA hasn't been listening, and indie studios are becoming more profitable and making better quality content. And it's time. It's time to, if you have that bug in the back of your head telling you, maybe I should look somewhere else, or maybe I should follow my own dreams, just do it.